What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Be the Trader. I am reviewing the week, and it is Saturday, November 23rd. So happy holidays. We're almost to Thanksgiving. I cannot wait. I've been on a plant-based diet for some time, but that's a whole different story. What I really want to talk about is reviewing the week. And I'm looking at my stats here on TraderView, and I see that, the number of trades that I made this week was 6 trades, which is huge for me. I'm really proud about the statistics because in the past, whenever I'm struggling or making a lot of bad trades, that number is double that or triple that sometimes, even quadruple, right? And so that's something I'm proud about. So that's something I'm acknowledging. The other thing is I have a 50% win rate right now. So I had 3 wins, 3 losses. But the good news is my win was triple the size of my biggest loss. So that's a good thing too, and I'm recognizing this as well. And what I'm trying to focus on is how can I continue this growth? And one thing that I'm just thinking out loud here is I really want to focus on next week continuing this momentum. So that means only trading the best setups when I do see them. And that also means not being afraid of setups that I've been practicing with very small size to continue to do so. So for instance, like this past week we had CGIX and I believe it was another runner, SAEX, where there were micro floats and they were just going wild. Those are those trades that I experimented this week where when you see something that's out of the ordinary. And in other words, when you see a stock that has a support level or a resistance level, because I'm a short seller, a resistance level, a key area, let's say $2, and it doesn't break that, but when it finally does, it goes like to 210 and then rejects. That normally shouldn't happen because then you would assume that when that breaks, you have a lot of momentum traders jumping in, you have a lot of shorts getting squeezed, and you have people who are buying the breakout who are chasing it. So it should run up, or at least run up more than 10 cents. But when it comes back down so quickly, that's a problem. And so that's something that I'm starting to recognize and slowly trading it very small. And when I mean small, I mean maybe 100 shares, because I really just want to concentrate on narrow my focus once I'm in the trade. Because one thing I've realized is when I enter a trade, I'm in a whole different kind of mindset and zone. I see the trade differently, which is easy. It's easier to say when you're not in the trade, and even when you're paper money, when you're watching it and you're like, oh, this is where I would have entered, this is where I would have gotten out, because it's easy to change your mind. But whenever you enter a trade, you actually can kind of feel the trade. You can sense where it's going. You can sense the emotions too, right? And what's interesting this past week that was huge, it's a great lesson that I need to push forward on. Whenever I'm concentrating on adjusting my risk or adjusting my risk to a different level so I minimize the loss. In other words, when I'm focused on minimizing a loss, even though I don't have a loss yet, or I'm focused on not losing profits, I end up doing that. I end up losing the profits. I end up making it a loss. And it's crazy how that can happen. So more so, I need to be focused on the plan. I need to be focused on the process, and I need to be focused on positive outcomes, right? It's because when I'm focused on the negative, then everything I see on that chart is negative. And that takes me back to Trading in the Zone. And I know many of you probably have read that book with Mark Douglas, RIP. Mark Douglas, man, great author, great book. I've heard it so many times, it's embarrassing that I'm not a great trader yet, but I love that book. And one part of the book, he ends up saying that if you're really focused on, he doesn't say negative, but if you're focused, when you're in a trade, every tick that goes against you is dramatized, because if you have fear of losing, then you're going to be looking at every indication that you are going to lose. And that's what I did this past week. I mean, when I saw a trade that opened at 1240, and I'm referring to MYOV, and I did a trade review on this, It's posted to my YouTube channel. So if you're listening on podcasts, go to my YouTube channel. It's a trade recap. You'll be able to see it. But I was in at an average of 12.45, risking 13.13, which I was comfortable with. But the next day, because I was swinging it, the next day when it opened, and it opened at 12.40 and tanked to 11.60, and I missed partial cover, that right there already made me frustrated. And so I was just thinking, I don't want to take a loss because I could have had a profitable trade. And it reminds me of my interview with Brian Lee, where he's like, sometimes when you're waiting for your profit target, he'll wait for it, and if it doesn't get there, he might miss it by 10 cents or whatever it may be, and then it goes completely against him. But you got to be okay with that. And that's something I want to take away and move forward with this week. That's the main thing is not worrying about that, because when I was worried about that, I adjusted my risk from 13.13 to 12.40, which kind of made sense at first, because in my head, I was like, it already went down over pretty much $1. If it recovers and breaks the high that it opened at, that's a problem. And to me, I think it's going to recover. But that was just the fear settling in, because it actually broke 12.40, but stopped at 12.50, which is a key area, a whole dollar, half dollar. And for those of you who are not aware, when trading, these whole dollar, half dollars are magnets. And so knowing that, I need to be, I would say, aware. And part of me wanted to use 12.50, but the other part of me didn't, because I was scared to take a loss, if I'm honest. I didn't want to take a loss. And so what happened? I ended up taking a loss because I put it at 12.40, it stopped, and I didn't get executed to 12.47. My average is 45. And then it hit 50 and failed and went all the way back down to 11.60. Now, granted, the rest of the day it did hold the lows and then started to recover. That's not a big deal, but I would have been able to take profits. It would have been a profitable trade, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't want to be focused on that next week. So my biggest lesson for me in this past week is focus on not just the positive, right, but on my plan, the overall plan while I'm in the trade. And swing trading is hard for me because I kind of find myself picking a risk. Like when I'm intraday, I could pick a risk, be comfortable all day. But when I take it to the next day, I'm having a hard time being able to maintain that same risk from the day before, especially if it's a key area. In the big picture, it looks like a great key area and it makes sense to me. But when I'm in the moment, I don't give it enough time, especially in the morning, to adjust my risk. I adjust it too soon. And that's another thing. If I'm swinging anything overnight to next week, I want to stick to my risk until there's a key area that's significant, either with time or with multiple resistance areas that shows me I should use this as resistance. Maybe it breaks a support and now I can use that new resistance level. That's something that I want to focus on. So next week, I want to continue my progress, but really I want to really narrow down. If I swing anything, stick to my risk. But on top of that, focus on my plan and focus on the positive side. Like the reason I entered the trade is because I saw that there's a high odds probability that's going to go in my target. So I need to be positive about that. And this is just going to be bouncing. It's going to go up and down, up and down. Stocks don't go all the way down, all the way up. Although lately they have done that. And they do that sometimes, but not all the time, especially, this recently couple of trades. And so taking this, I will remember this. And so really what it comes down to, I may just set up like a range, a stop range where there's a low and a high in the range where it takes my profits or takes my loss. That's something I'm going to implement and practice on, because if I end up working somewhere, that's how I'm at the trade. It's going to be very automatic where I just set up a trade, don't really have to watch it, and I can work. And that's what I want to focus on, because I know a lot of you guys, including myself, is we can't trade full-time forever or even do it because we're not making great money at it, right? And so that's something that I got to practice, because I am going to be working somewhere one day. And so because of that, I'm setting up a system where I can trade without actually having to sit down at a desk. So I can be doing other things, and all I need is my phone to alert me and say, hey, MYOV is at this price. Do you execute your trade? It takes like 2-3 seconds. And then once you do that, set your target and your loss, and then walk away. And you're done. You don't even have to manage it. That would be a great solution. That's what I'm working on, and I'm going to focus on that next week. So thanks again for listening to this podcast, the YouTube channel. Remember, I posted on YouTube and on podcasts. If you're on the podcast, please give us a rating and review. It really helps me a ton. It's the algorithm. And then if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe and leave a comment. I love interacting with all you guys. I'm about to record another short session here, just answering some questions that people are posting. So thanks a lot, guys. Take care.